NFL Week 9 spreads and totals best bets video is here. My name is Steve. We're going to break down every single game in the NFL happening in Week 9 for a spread and a total pick for every game. Let's lock in and have a great week.
Well, my presence isn't real. It's another bad one like this is scale. It's straight fire. All my bets straight from. You're in the house that Cap made now. Straight fire.
As always, my friends, if you guys are new to the channel, make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe button for me. Always appreciate that. We are on the road to 10,000 subscribers. Appreciate all of your guys' support as always. Let's lock in and have a great week number 9 in the NFL. Let's first start with a recap from week number 8. How did we do? We went 11-2 on our totals picks, guys. Absolutely crazy week on our totals. And we went 7-6 on spreads. So, winning week on both sides, but the totals, we absolutely killed it. Like I said, we hit 11 out of the 13 totals, which is pretty wild. We love to see it, guys. That puts us, obviously, winning records at both totals and spreads now for the season. Love to see it. We're starting to find our groove. Hopefully, we continue that here in week number 9. Lock in, and we can win some pick'em pools and stuff like that. That's obviously what we're hoping to do. Make sure you guys drop your favorite play down below in the chat. For week number 9, let me know what you guys are thinking for the week. Your favorite spread, your favorite total of the week. We'd love to hear what you guys are playing, obviously, as well. Keep in mind, we run a lot of other content here at the channel. NBA videos, other NFL content. Obviously, we'll have Thursday Night Football, Sunday Night Football, Monday Night Football, Best Bets videos, and Best Bets NFL Sunday video for 1 and 4 o'clock games comes out Saturdays around noon. So we have a lot going on here at the channel. We run daily NBA videos as well, so make sure you guys check out all that stuff. Without further ado, guys, let's get after it. Get after these games and see what we got on tap here in week number 9. First game on tap, we are going with the Baltimore Ravens traveling down to Miami and Hard Rock Stadium to take on the Miami Dolphins. Dolphins 7.5 point dogs in this one. The total set to 49.5. So the line certainly indicates we're expecting to see Lamar Jackson back here for the Ravens. That is the early report out of Baltimore. John Harbaugh expects them to be ready to play there versus Miami, and obviously we do too. So that is what we're going off of. Believe it or not, we took the Ravens on the spread last week, and we kind of said the same thing. We expected Lamar Jackson to play. He didn't end up playing. Ravens still won by 2 touchdowns, so that's obviously very encouraging. And here, I think we are going to get Lamar back for this game. You heard it from John Harbaugh. That certainly should happen here. So, with all that being said, I just think the Ravens are simply superior. The defense bounced back out of the bye week and got a little bit healthy there in the bye week. Played much better on the defensive side of the ball last week versus the Bears. Kind of frustrating Caleb Williams as they were held to 16 points. So, love to see that the defense is starting to play. Obviously, you get Lamar Jackson back here feeling pretty good offensively with Derrick Henry and Lamar. Just like the good old days. So I think we'll start to finally see the best of the Ravens coming out. Finally on the defensive side, like I said, if they can start finding that defensive groove, this could be a very tough team. And they are sitting at just 2-5. But this is a spot where the books are expecting them to make a run. They're minus odds right now to win the AFC North, which is pretty crazy considering they're 2-5. But I think this is where they start to get on a run, and they start with a dominant win down in Miami. I think they get this done here. So, like I said, I think Lamar comes back. He's going to do very well in this particular spot. I do like the Ravens minus the 7.5. We're going to lay the points there on the Ravens. I think they do cover. And I'm also going to take the over 49.5 points as well. Obviously, I think the Ravens are going to score it well on this Dolphins defense. I think this Dolphins defense is still horrible. I think the Falcons messed up last week versus the Dolphins and abandoned the run game for whatever reason very early on. And it makes no sense because Bijan Robinson's your best player. And obviously the Dolphins ended up blowing out the Falcons in Atlanta. But that's not the first time a bad team has blown Atlanta out. Carolina blew them out, 30-0? So no real surprises there. Sometimes those things happen. But I don't think that speaks as much about the Dolphins. It more speaks about Atlanta. Didn't have their quarterback. Didn't have the number 1 wide receiver. So I think it was a little bit of a fluke there for Miami. So I do like the Ravens, like I said, minus the 7.5. Over 49.5. I don't like the Dolphins defense. I think they're horrible. Ravens are going to score a lot of points. And the Ravens defense still has holes. I still think Tua will get some points up there, enough to get us to the over here, and really like the over here in this spot. So love it there, guys. We get the Ravens minus 7.5 and the over 49.5 points here. Okay, next game on tap, we got the Chicago Bears traveling to Cincinnati to take on the Cincinnati Bengals. Bengals 2.5-point dogs here, total set to 51.5. That's the first of like 3 games on the slate we have total set in the 50s, so very kind of tricky there, right? But yeah, Bengals playing at home after a disgusting loss to the New York Jets at home, in which they allowed the Jets to compile over 500 yards of offense, which is crazy when you think about it. Because the Jets have been so bad offensively, and the Bengals had that game won in the fourth quarter. They're up by 2 scores. They were late in that game, and the Jets came back with a miracle victory to get their first win of the season. So what happens here? Now the Bengals are underdogs. I think the books saw that. They're like, wow, this defense really is just straight trash, which it's hard not to say that, which I do think they are, for what it's worth. I think the defense is not very good. I won't say trash because that's not nice. Yeah, I do like the bounce back spot here for the Bengals. They are staying home, and their season's still very much alive. They're not dead yet. The AFC North is wide open, and they still have a very good offense. They still got Flacco's been fantastic. You still got T. Higgins, Jamar Chase. This offense is going to be very hard to stop. So I still do like this Bengals team, especially on offense, but obviously defensively, yikes. So, with that being said, I am going to rock the Bengals plus the 2.5 at home here. Like I said, I think they win here versus the Bears team. I'm just not inspired by it right now. I think it will be a relatively high scoring game, but if you're going to say, Caleb Williams versus Joe Flacco coming down the stretch to decide the game, I'm going to take Joe Flacco. Even at the end of that Jets game, Joe Flacco still made great throws. The throw to Iacivas was right where it needed to be, and he dropped it. So, at the end of the day, the Bengals still really should have won that game, honestly, on that drive. It just didn't end up working out that way, obviously. So, but do think the Bengals bounce back here. I'll take the Bengals plus the 2.5. Going to take the over 51.5 points. We rocked a lot of overs last week, and it worked out. I think, once again, you see a lot of points here. Neither defense is very good. We saw it from the Bears last week. Got rocked by the Ravens with a backup quarterback. I think there'll be a ton of points here. So, give me the Bengals plus the 2.5 and the over 51.5 points. Next game on tap, Minnesota Vikings traveling to Detroit to take on the Detroit Lions. Detroit Lions, 8.5-point favorites. Total set to 47.5 points. So what's going to happen here? Lions are coming out of the bye week. Vikings coming off a 37-10 whooping in LA versus the Chargers, in which Carson Wentz got really hurt and all those things. So obviously the Vikings defense didn't look very good. And I would argue they're drawing a much tougher matchup with the Lions. Lions are much more in tune offensively than I would say the Chargers are. So I think the Lions can hang a big number here on Minnesota. Obviously, Minnesota's defense has been we saw a lot of that there in LA. Their defense wasn't very good. Again, they're staying on the road here versus Detroit, who's coming off the bye, getting a lot healthier. I see this as a great spot for the Lions. I will take them to cover the 8.5. I think this is a terrific spot for them. Coming off the bye week, I think they're going to be very sharp in a big division game. It is a division game, but right now the Vikings just aren't in sync. They just haven't, we just haven't really seen Minnesota really put it together yet. Started the season with that win in Chicago, but outside of that, this team just hasn't looked that good. Really defensively, offensively, a lot, for the most part, it's been pretty much a mess right now in Minnesota. So, they beat the Browns, but what? Can't really give them too much credit for that. We're going to have to chill. We're going to have to pump our brakes a little bit there. But yeah, I think the Lions out of the bye are the play here. I think they take care of business at home. Obviously, the Lions are a very good home team. I think they cover the 8.5. And I will rock that over 47.5 points. At the end of the day, Minnesota's defense is going to give up a lot of points to the Lions. It's how many Minnesota will score. I think they'll score enough to get this to the over. The Lions' defense has not been trustworthy really so far this season. even when they've won going away, they still give up some yards and points. And I think you can see that once again here. So give me the Lions minus the 8.5 points and the over 47.5 points. Next game on tap, we got the Carolina Panthers traveling to Green Bay to take on the Green Bay Packers. Packers 12.5 point favorites here. Total set to 44.5. Panthers coming off a drubbing versus the Buffalo Bills down at Carolina at home, which they got thoroughly outplayed, particularly after the first quarter. It got pretty ugly there. The Bills just ran away with this one. And the Bills were coming off a bye for what it's worth. And the Panthers also have Andy Dalton there at quarterback, backup quarterback. So, question is, what happens here? Panthers traveling on the road. They've been a terrible road team really the last couple of years. Their last road game, though, they did get a road win versus the New York Jets for what it's worth to get them to 4-3. And now they're at 4-4. And now they're 12.5 point dogs, which seems a little ludicrous. But we did see the Green Bay Packers really put it together on both sides of the ball there on Sunday Night Football versus the Steelers, which I thought was encouraging if you're a Packers fan. Their defense really looked good again, and obviously offensively with Tucker Kraft. And now Christian Watson coming back, adding another element to this offense. He had a pretty big game in his first game back. Caught a couple of deep balls there. So really starting to like this Packers team. I hate to say it, I'm a diehard Lions fan, but it is what it is. The Packers are starting to look like that team again, where they could dominate on both sides of the ball, and I think they will in this matchup. The Panthers' defense is simply no good, particularly on the road. I think Green Bay runs away with this one. And honestly, I don't think the Panthers score much at all. So to that effect, I think the Packers are going to cover the 12.5. I actually think the under 44.5 is going to hit as well. I don't love it because it's scary. Anytime you take a minus big spread on a team and you're taking an under, it feels weird. But I really think that's what's going to happen here. I think that you could see this be, 30 to 14, 30 to 10. Anything like that. I don't even know if the Panthers get 10. I'm not even confident the Panthers might get 10 points. That'd be probably the most I'm willing to give them. So I would say, 27-10 Packers is fine. 30-10, 31-10. You can see that. Once you start getting above the 30s, on an offense, projecting them to go over that number, it kind of gets crazy. There's only, certain scenarios I would project that. I don't necessarily project. But the Packers aren't usually... once they get off the lead, I think they'll run the football, and they won't look to, run it up like they could. I think they'll just, play a little more conservative. So I still think the under will hit. So Packers minus 12.5 and the under 44.5 points. Next game on tap, we got the Denver Broncos traveling down to Houston to take on the Texans. Texans 1.5 point favorites here. Total set to 39.5. This line actually opened with the Broncos favored by 1.5, and this line flipped. Obviously part of that in part to how the Texans played there on Sunday versus the 49ers. Offense finally looked good, and they didn't even have Nico Collins in the lineup, which is pretty crazy when you think about it. But yeah, CJ Stroud looked good. He got some protection there. Granted, the 49ers don't have much of a pass rush, but, one of those things. Texans defense, once again, looked elite versus a very good and dangerous San Francisco offense. So this defense continues to play well. I think you'll see more of that here down in Houston. Denver, I'm not sold on offensively. I know some people now are because of how they performed versus Dallas and even versus the Giants in that fourth quarter. But man, Dallas is not a good defense at all. We all know that. There's no secrets of Dallas. They have a horrible defense. Horrible. They're one of the worst in all of football. And then the Giants in the fourth quarter, the Broncos did nothing for 3 quarters in the fourth quarter. You know how teams play when they have a big lead. They drop guys into coverage and, their game plan changes and then everything changes. So I don't have any more confidence in the Broncos offense. Maybe if they do it this week versus Houston, I'll have to buy stock in their offense. Right now, though, I don't see any reason to. Next to me still doesn't look crisp at quarterback right now. The running game looks dangerous. But as far as Bo Nix goes, I'm not sold on this right now. Maybe Bo Nix will find it. And like I said, I might eat my words. If he goes out and has a great game in Houston, I'll shut up about the Broncos offense. I'll give them their flowers. But until I see something versus a solid defense, I will happily fade them. I'm going to take the Texans minus 1.5. I'm going to take that under 39.5 points. I really think this game's going to be fairly ugly, honestly. Both defenses are elite. Denver's defense is elite. And it's the same. It's similar with the Texans. The reason why I give the Texans an edge is I have a little bit more faith in C.J. Stroud, to be honest with you. And also the Texans are playing at home. I think that is a big deal in a game like this where I really think these teams are about dead even. And, this line is right. This is a pick'em line, and I think the books are spot on this one. I don't always say that, but I think they're spot on here. So I will give the advantage to the Texans at home, and I do think this under is going to hit. So under Texans minus 1.5 and the under 39.5 points here. Next game on tap, we got the Atlanta Falcons traveling to New England to take on the New England Patriots. Patriots are 5.5 point favorites here. The total set to 45.5 points. I took a little bit of slack last week. I took the Browns as one of our official bets on the spread versus the Patriots. And I had to eat my words. Patriots came out and performed in Foxborough. And you guys are going to hate this. And I hate to do it. But I think the Falcons bounce back, and I think they cover the number here. I'm still not ready. I'm still not ready to give the Patriots the flowers. I swear this is the last week I do this. But I think Atlanta, they get Penix Jr. back. They're going to hand the ball more to Bijan. They're going to get Drake London back. Because you know why? The Falcons have to win this game. They cannot clown around anymore. They cannot afford to lose this game. If they can get those bodies on the field, they will be on the field. I can almost assure you of that. And if that happens, I think Atlanta covers. I'm not saying they win, but I'm saying Atlanta is going to keep this game competitive. Bijan Robinson is an absolute superstar. And I think if you give him the football, he'll do damage versus anybody. And I think he'll do some damage here. And I think he'll keep the Falcons in the game. And if Drake London's back, he'll keep the Falcons in it as well. I think this offense can keep them in the game. Still think Drake May and the Pats will score. I think this could be a high-scoring game, honestly. And here's the thing. In that Cleveland-New England game, Cleveland really outplayed New England there in that first half. I know the second half didn't go that way, but in the first half, Cleveland actually was looking pretty decent. They went down on their opening drive and scored a touchdown. I thought it was going to be a great day. I thought I was going to be singing from the clouds, and it just didn't happen that way. You guys know how life works. Life sometimes just is not that kind, guys. But all that said, guys, I do think the Falcons bounce back. They had a really bad loss last week to Miami at home, just like they did versus the Panthers, and they were able to bounce back out of that and beat the Buffalo Bills later on. So this team is weird. This team is really strange, and I think for whatever reason, they're going to go on the road, they're going to play pretty well, they're going to cover the number. So give me the Falcons plus the 5.5, and give me that over 45.5 points. Like I said, I think there'll be points of flow in here. There's enough star power on the field here with Drake May, Drake London, and Bijan Robinson, Stephon Diggs. I'm confident we'll see some points. So Falcons plus 5.5 and the over 45.5 points. Next game on tap. We got the San Francisco 49ers traveling to New York to take on the New York Giants. Giants 2.5 point dogs here. The total set to 48.5 points. So what's going to happen here? 49ers went down to Houston last week and took a little bit of a beating. 26-15 loss there. That was one of those games that we call perfectly under, and the Texans in that one. 49ers staying on the road here. Back-to-back road games on the East Coast. So this is tough. This is tough here for San Francisco. They've dealt with a lot of injuries this season, particularly on the defensive side of the ball. We mentioned how Stroud had a lot of time to throw. A lot of that has to do with the 49ers injuries. No Nick Bosa, no Fred Warner, two of their better defensive players, obviously. So that's significant. And obviously the Giants dealt with some heartbreaking news again. They had heartbreak after heartbreak. First in Denver with that historic loss, and then they lost Cam Skattebo. I could argue, might be the heart and soul of this Giants team right now. And he's lost, obviously, for the season with that gruesome injury. So, do the Giants have some resiliency here? I actually think so. I think the Giants, I think they show some resiliency here. I really do. Coming back home, I think they give the fans something to cheer about. Jackson Dart is special. And right now, I just don't know about this 49ers team, guys. And particularly on the defensive side, I have a lot of questions, especially being on the road. I think this defense could get loose, and the Giants could take advantage of it. And truthfully, Jackson Dart's going to make plays one way or another. And I think Scatterboo is certainly a big loss, but I think Jackson Dart continues his rookie sensational year, and he performs here and kind of keeps the Giants in this one. But, you know, as far as, like, I could see there being a lot of inconsistency in this one, too. Like I said, even offensively for the 49ers, you know, with Mac Jones, and they really need Brock Purdy back, but, you know, they might get him back. There's a lot of revolving doors right now in San Francisco where we don't even know half the time who's going to be lining up at receiver, at tight end. They just got George Kittle back. I know that's great. But overall, they've been dealing with injuries all season. So, really, the continuity, I just don't trust on the 49ers right now. And like I said, back-to-back road games on the East Coast. Not loving it there for San Fran. So, I'm going to take the Giants plus the 2.5. You know, the home dogs here. I think they're going to be barking this defense. I think we'll show up here at home. Maybe put one in the bag here for Scatterboo. Maybe they'll play a little bit harder here for Cam Scatterboo as he got lost for the season. Jackson Dart, like I said, will continue to do what he does. So I will take the Giants plus 2.5. Gonna rock the under 48.5 points. I just think it's a little too high for this particular game. I don't think this is gonna get crazy, like, with all the points flying around. I do think the Giants offense will have success. The 49ers offense will even have a little bit of success, but I don't see it getting crazy high scoring. Could be like 24-20 Giants. I could see something like that. And obviously fills our metrics there. So, love it there, guys. We got the Giants plus the 2.5 and the under 48.5 points here. Okay, next game on tap. My favorite game of the week. We got the Indianapolis Colts traveling to Pittsburgh to take on the Pittsburgh Steelers. Steelers 3-point home underdogs. Total here is set to 50.5. So this is my favorite game of the week because it involves the Indianapolis Colts. This one, I'm going to be honest with you, is really easy. You don't have to think about this one. Right now, the Colts are on auto mode. You just place the bet on whatever the Colts are, and you just wait for it at the end of the week to cash. I think that's how that works right now. Until proven otherwise. You know, I haven't seen the books adjust enough and give them the respect they deserve. The Colts should be about a touchdown favorite here to me. They've been so dominant, especially offensively. Jonathan Taylor's had like 4 games. I think it's 4 games now with 3 rushing touchdowns. Might be 3. It's either 3 or 4 games with 3 rushing touchdowns in the same game. This offensive line is dominating. I mean, it's one of the most dominant offensive lines right now going in football. They're absolutely fantastic. Danny Jones looks fantastic. His deep balls look great. This offense is clicking. I expect that to continue, obviously, here. And the Steelers offensively, I don't trust consistently to keep up with the Colts. I don't think that'll happen. I think the Colts are going to put up a big number here. And this game's going to get loose. No doubt about it. You're going to see a lot of points here, particularly on the side of the Colts. That Steelers defense has been horrible. Just like we talked about with the Bengals, they're right in the same category. This defense has been awful. The Packers obviously decimated them. Jordan Love had a point in that game. I was watching the game. 20 straight completions. I mean, what is going on back there? What are you doing? Like, how do you... And Jordan Love, you know, I like Jordan Love and everything, but Jordan Love's not quite that good, I don't think. I mean, I think he's okay. I like Jordan Love. But, man, 20 straight completions? Come on, what are we doing? So that defense is terrible. So, this is, like I said, this one's fairly easy for me, guys. I'm going Colts minus the 3. I'm going to take that over 50.5 as well. I think this game gets loose. I think you'll see a lot of points here. As long as the weather holds up. Hopefully the weather's good. You never know once you start getting into this time of year. Make sure you guys check your weather reports as well before you consider taking high point totals. Last thing you want to do is take like an over 50 points and it's downpouring rain or, you know, stuff like that. So Colts minus 3, over 50.5 in that game. Next game on tap, we got the Los Angeles Chargers traveling to Tennessee to take on the Tennessee Titans. We got the Titans here, 10-point home dogs. Total set to 43.5. I'm always in these positions with the Titans where I'm always tempted for some reason to take the opposite team to cover a big number and the under to hit. But that has changed a little bit. Last week, I think we changed it up there in the Titans-Colts game. We took the Colts to cover the big number, and we took the over on both of those hit. So that was another game we swept. And I think that trend is going to continue. Because what's happened now is the Titans have put together a little bit of an offense where Cam Ward isn't quite as bad as he was early in the season. They're not as anemic. They've been able to post some yards and points. So I think that's enough to get most overs because their defense is horrible and they give up a ton of points. And the Chargers are finding themselves now. They got their offensive line back mostly healthy-ish. They got Joe Alt back, which made a huge difference there versus the Vikings. You saw their offense break out again. Once you get that offensive line healthy, it can really change things. So they once again, until proven otherwise, I cannot take the Titans to cover just about any number. We took the Colts minus 14 last week versus them, and it was free. It was easy. This is only 10. I think the Chargers cover the number despite traveling west to east. The Titans are that bad right now. There are no good vibes in Tennessee. They fired their coach. They still haven't played well since they fired him either. They haven't looked good really in any sense of the word. They've gotten blown out in both of those games. So I think we see that again. Give me the Chargers minus the 10, guys. And I'm going to rock that over 43.5 points. I think the Chargers are going to score into the 30s, and the Titans are going to give you enough to hit this over. Maybe 10, 14 points. That'll be enough here for this over to hit. Chargers are going to score 30-plus in this one easily. So, Chargers minus 10 and the over 43.5 points. Next game we have on tap, we got the New Orleans Saints traveling to Los Angeles to take on the Los Angeles Rams. Rams are 13.5 point favorites. The total here is set to 43.5. This is another big spread with a modest total, not a big total. So what do? Well, the Saints, a lot of people have bought stock in the Saints because we kind of get this perception about them that they're scrappy, and they have been at different points. They've hanged around in some of these games, but they still end up falling outside the number a lot. So I think here, they hanged with the Bills up at Buffalo, and they played pretty well that game. And I think ever since that game, everybody just looks at the Saints as like, yeah, this is a scrappy, tough team. They got Kellen Moore, Rattler's playing quarterback. Yeah, Rattler's, I don't know, guys. I'm not feeling it anymore with the Saints. I got the ick with the Saints, all right? So I'm going to have to fade them just because I haven't seen anything good. They're not covering even big numbers at this point. They got blown out against Tampa Bay last week. They got blown out the week before versus Chicago. I think we've seen enough. The Saints aren't a good football team, and I think we need to stop giving them so much credit they haven't earned. They haven't scored well on these tests. So I'm going to take the Rams minus the 13.5, guys. And for kicks and giggles, I'm going to stay with the same model as the Titans games right now. I'm going to stick with the over 43.5. I think the Saints can get enough, right? You got Chris Olave, you got Alvin Kamara. Rattler's not bad, really. I mean, he can put it together a little bit, but I'm just saying overall, But I think he can do enough, obviously, to get maybe 10, 14 points up on the board. But this is another case where I think the Rams are going to put up 30-plus on the Saints, especially at home with the Saints traveling here. I think this is going to be tough. So give me that Rams minus 13.5 and give me that over 43.5 points in that one. All right, next game on tap. We got the Jacksonville Jaguars traveling to Las Vegas to take on the Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders are 3-point dogs here. The total set to 44.5. So what's going to happen here? Well, Jaguars, honestly, coming off a couple of very disappointing weeks, right? Versus Seattle at home. They had a real opportunity after that Kansas City win on Monday night to really show something, and they flopped at home. And then they flopped in London versus, I'm drawing a blank. Was it versus the Chargers? They absolutely flopped, though, in London. That was, wait a minute. Or was it versus the Vikings? I think it was versus the Vikings. Wow, my brain is playing tricks on me. And the Vikings took care of business, obviously, there. Jaguars, no bueno. So, question becomes here, can the Jaguars bounce back from that? Get back on track? They're short favorites here versus, a Raiders team that's been pretty bad all year. Something's telling me though that we're in store for a weird one here. I right now I feel like the Jaguars are the team that we can't trust. We've seen a lot of inconsistency, obviously, from them. I mean, same thing really with the Raiders. But right now, I just feel like this is a spot for the Raiders at home where they're going to play a little bit decent here at home. We saw it versus Chicago earlier this season, very close game there. And Vegas, with Pete Carroll, Geno Smith, they just added, I think, Tyler Lockett to the roster as well. I think there's still some belief here with Pete Carroll. And even Geno Smith. I think Geno's better than how he's played. And, obviously, hopefully he turns his season around because he's been awful this year. So, something's telling me, though, we're in for something crazy here. I think the Raiders show up. It's a little bit more of a hunch. I think this is a spot where the Raiders hang around here. I'm going to take the Raiders plus the 3. I'm going to take the under 44.5. I don't really have particular confidence in either of these offenses right now, so I don't trust them to score a lot of points. So I'll rock that under 44.5 here as well. We haven't taken a ton of unders this week, so we got to have some in there. Now, not every over is going to hit, guys. So give me the Raiders, though, plus the 3. I think they bounce back at home and put up a fight here, and the Jags are going to be left asking more questions after another weird game here. And I'll take that under 44.5. Next game on tap, might spend a minute on this one. This one is the biggest game of the week. Kansas City Chiefs traveling to Buffalo to take on the Buffalo Bills. Bills 1.5 point dogs here at home. Total set to 52.5. So what do we got in this one? Well, before the bye week, there were a lot of question marks for the Buffalo Bills. Particularly on the defensive side of the ball. Obviously, the run defense has been horrible this season. The defense in general has been pretty bad. And we got some bad news here for the Bills. I know they beat the Panthers in Carolina. They took care of business. That's great. Carolina is a bad football team. I'm not going to give you a lot of brownie points for that. We kind of expected that to happen. We took the Bills last week to cover. But they just lost Ed Oliver now for the season. Torn biceps. That's not good. He's one of the better defensive players. They're already struggling defensively. They can't afford to lose bodies like that. I'll tell you that right now. And the Kansas City Chiefs quietly, maybe not quietly, over the last 3 to 4 weeks have found themselves completely. This offense looks like it's in end season form, right? Rashee Rice came back. Travis Kelce got 100 receiving yards on Monday night versus the Commanders. Rashee Rice had 8 catches. Xavier Worthy made big plays. Kareem Hunt had big runs. This offense looks exactly like the Super Bowl teams. I mean, honestly, this offense is looking good again. And that's scary for a team like Buffalo. I don't think there's any way they stop Kansas City in this game. I just don't see it happening. Despite them being at home, I'd love to take the Bills, guys. I love the Bills as well. I'm a diehard Bills fan as well. I love the Bills and the Lions. I gotta fade them, though. I'm left with no choices here. I think the Bills are going to score points, but their defense isn't going to be able to catch a cold. They're going to be absolutely horrible on Sunday versus the Chiefs. They're going to get beat. And it's going to suck. And I'm not going to like it, but it's what's going to happen. So it's unfortunate, guys, because I would love to see the Bills take care of business versus the Chiefs and get a big win. It's not going to happen. Chiefs have been too good. And the defense is starting to round into form, too. What have they allowed? 7 points the last 2 weeks? They shut out the Raiders. And then they only allowed 7 versus the Commanders. So, I think if we're going to... the Bills are still going to score a lot of points. Don't get me wrong. But if there's going to be stops in this game, it's going to be by the Chiefs. It's not going to be from the Bills. So, give me the Chiefs minus the 1.5. And give me that over 52.5 points, guys. I know it's a very high total, but it's high for a reason. You had 2 MVPs playing against each other. And you should see the very best out in Buffalo. It should be a fun one there up in Buffalo. So, love it there, guys. Chiefs minus the 1.5 and the over 52.5 points here. All right, next game on tap. We got the Seattle Seahawks traveling to Washington and take on the Washington Commanders. Commanders 3.5 point home dogs. Total set to 45.5 points. So, Commanders should be getting Jaden Daniels back for this one. Should be getting him back, which obviously be a nice boost for this offense. I really didn't think Marcus Mariota really played that bad on Monday night, for what it's worth. Just a couple of costly turnovers where one ball hit Deebo Samuel right in the head and ended up in an interception. That was a huge play. There were a couple plays like that in the game. Outside of that, Mariota at times looked very solid. So even if it ends up being him, I think he's still decent enough for me to have a little bit of faith here with the Commanders. Seahawks coming in. Obviously, they're having a great season behind Sam Darnold. And this defense, which has been terrific. Darnold obviously kind of looking like that guy up in Minnesota last year, where he put on a great season. He certainly had moments this year where, we had to kind of question some things. Monday night there versus the Texans. They didn't play particularly their greatest game offensively. They got away with it, though, because their defense was very high-end that night. So now traveling out on the road to take on a Commanders team that, like I said with the Falcons, is very desperate. This Commanders team needs a win in the worst way. They have to have this one, especially being at home. And I think for a couple things. I think Jaden Daniels is going to play. I love that Deebo Samuel and Terry McLaurin are healthy now. That kind of changes things. I think, with all those guys back, and if Jaden Daniels could play, I think the Commanders here at home are a slam dunk. Particularly to cover that spread. They're 3.5-point dogs. I think they cover the number there. And given that, I don't have a ton of faith in the Commanders' defense. I do think we'll see some points in this one. I'm gonna trust this Commanders offense to do a little bit more here, in general. So I'm gonna take the Commanders plus the 3.5. We'll rock that over 45.5 points as well. It's one of those things where both offenses are very capable. I think the Commanders, if they're healthy, can be very hard to stop with Terry McLaurin and Deebo Samuel healthy. So, love it there, guys. Seahawks, Commanders. We got the Commanders plus 3.5 and the over 45.5 points. Okay, finally, our last game on the slate. We got the Arizona Cardinals traveling to Dallas to take on the Dallas Cowboys. Cowboys are 3-point favorites here. The total set to 53.5. So, really looking forward to this game, obviously. This should be a fun one down in Dallas. At AT&T Stadium, under the bright lights in prime time. There's going to be points, guys. I can tell you that right now. We talked about it earlier. The Cowboys' defense is absolutely horrible. There's really not a lot of good things to say about the defense. The defense was horrible again out on the road versus Denver. I think we could see that again. Kyler Murray should be back for the Cardinals, so we're going to play under that presumption. And if he's in there, obviously, with Marvin Harrison Jr. and Kyler Murray, I think they'll be able to put up some points on this Cowboys defense. But the Cowboys are so electric right now offensively with CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens. I don't think Arizona's going to be able to stop them, to be honest with you. I think there's just too much here to contend with. Jake Ferguson, Javonte Williams is having an all-pro season. So I think this is going to be a great performance here from the Cowboys. I think you'll see the Cowboys really show up at home in Jerry World under the lights in prime time. I'm excited to watch it. Like I said, the Cowboys just have so many weapons, and Dak is playing phenomenal this year. Dak has had a great year. And even in Denver, their offense really wasn't the problem too much. Their offense did fine for the most part. It's hard to score on Denver. It is. But it's one of those things where I still thought their offense for the most part was still solid. Javonte still had a big game, a couple rushing touchdowns there. So I thought their offense, given the situation playing versus Denver, was still pretty good. But I'm going to rock the Cowboys minus the 3 here. Short favorites versus a Cardinals team that I don't really know what they are at this point. There's been sideline blow-ups. There's been a lot of different things. So I think the Cowboys are going to cover the spread, and I do think this over is going to hit as well. I will take that over 53.5 points. I think this game gets loose. I really do. I think we'll see a lot of points here. Cowboys will rack it up, and hopefully Arizona can get us a lot of points too. We're going to need some help here from Arizona to get there, but I'm very confident they can do it well. This Cowboys defense is that bad, where I would think about just any offense to beat their defense. The defense is just simply that bad. I think they're going to struggle again. So Cowboys minus 3 and the over 53.5 points. All right, guys, that is it for our picks and for all the games. If you guys enjoyed the content, as always, hit that like and subscribe button for me. Always appreciate that on the road to 10,000 subscribers. Appreciate all of our guys' support. Make sure you guys check out all of our other content here at the channel. And excited about week 9, guys. Should be a great week for us. And hopefully, obviously, we can do well here in week 9 and make some money and just have a great week. So outside of that, though, guys, that will do it for me. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and we will catch you guys all back here next time. Peace out.